Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Lobo Show. So you have some decently worked on commanders, but you're still not getting the kind of numbers you want in your reports. It might be your gear. Any march that you plan on fighting with in a PvP scenario should have at least some basic gear on. The first question you need to ask yourself is how many marches you intend on using at one time. The lower that number, the quicker you're going to have an overpowered march, much like my Ramses here, where I've managed to do several upgrades. And as tempting as it is to go all in and have a lucky coin, your fighting skills will be much better if you add that last. Even if it's just basic greens and blues on your fighting marches, you'll get great stats and slowly be able to upgrade them. And now that all of my marches are at a good place, I can think about adding more accessories to my main marches to make them stronger. But it's not only one strong march and then everyone else is kind of weaker. First up, your weapons. Even if you're using a mixed Aether march, you should still be focused on one troop type. Have the split 95-5 for a bonus. So depending on which troops you're going to focus on, you'll want one of these three. The Vanguard Halberd is one of the best sets for your cav marches. It's probably the best weapon slot of choice until you upgrade until you're purple. Vanguard is one of the best sets for your cav marches. It gives incredible amount of value for very little investment, and the two pieces will carry you well into the late game. This is a weapon slot of choice until you're going to do a hard upgrade. For infantry, you're going to want to use Gatekeeper Shield. It's probably one of the best in slot just because health makes your infantry marches super tanky and it's just great value for your dollar. For your archers, you'd want to go Staff of the Lost because it's great value, it's cheap, it's easy to get a lot of copies, and then you just get to reforge it to hit the special talents, which gives you an extra 30%. Next up, the helmets. I personally adore movement speed, and I think Windswept is the way to go early on, especially for infantry. If your archers are faster, that just means calves can wreck you less, and you get to position easier. And who doesn't like speedy boys? If you're looking for a bit more girth on your calves, Expedition War Helm is the best in slot aside from the legendary set, which is a long ways away. This helmet will get you tons of value and last you forever in your helmet slot. For archers, if you don't want the move speed or you want a more budget-friendly option, Helm of the Phoenix is superb. It puts in a ton of work, and nowadays, it's not too hard to get the blueprints. The chest slot doesn't have that many options, so you probably want to go Windswept for a cheeky set bonus. It's a bit more on the pricey side, but it is one of the best blue pieces in the game, and the extra 2% troop attack works really well, and the march speed is never a bad thing like I mentioned. Archers can go Commander's Heavy Armor for some extra beefiness, and that's a super late-game viable chest piece. And the glove slot, the Windswept is another standout budget piece of gear. If you can get all four pieces, you get really good value until you start upgrading. I personally have had 2 Windswept sets for my marches, and as I start to upgrade one commander, they're my hand-me-downs, and it just makes my next march even stronger as I slowly start upgrading. If you're an infantry player, Calvin's Hand is where you'd want to be when you start upgrading away from Windswept. Once you start upgrading the other pieces of Windswept out, this is a really, really amazing piece of gear for infantry. And on the plus side, if you're short on materials, you can unforge your Windswept and pretty much craft this right away for the swap. Archers who once again want to give up some movement speed can get the leather gloves for that extra little bit of health and just really prove that archers aren't just melty troops that don't matter. In the pants slot, Cavalry are going to finish off the Vanguard set here, and they're going to ride this into the late game. It gives really good stats for very little investment. They're super easy to get. You can get the bonus on these super easily and just ride this straight into the late game. Infantry players, look into Sentry Breeches. It gives a really just solid amount of attack for the amount you're investing in. They're not too pricey at only 80 materials, and they're not too difficult to try to grind out. Archer players, you should probably go Grease of the Exile. It's potentially one of the last pieces of gear you'll upgrade because every other piece in this slot are significantly more expensive for not too much upside. I personally plan on keeping this until I get Revival set, and I'm only doing that for the set bonus. Boots are probably the weakest slot. There's a reason I've been talking about the Windswept set so much, as a march speed here and the base stats are pretty easy, and you just need one other piece of gear and you get free 2% attack. Infantry players here can think about the Scarlet Hounds. I personally think they benefit more from move speed, but that is a significant amount of health, and your infantry marches are going to be super tanky. Once you get all of these done on your attacking marches, I would really encourage everyone to try to get 5 sets of gathering gear. 5 sets of the sharp longsword, 5 sets of the coarse breeches, and 5 pairs of sturdy boots. The extra gathering speed isn't a lot, but it will really help you accelerate how much you get to farm and just really put in a lot of work. Gathering is important. I'll cover this in a future video down the line, but it's 100% worth it to just get the basic amount of gathering gear on your gathering commanders. Well, that's all I have for basic gearing. I hope you find this helpful. If you want to see the next part where I'll talk about how to go about upgrading, hit that subscribe button and be on the lookout for the next video very soon. Feel free to join me this Sunday for my Osiris League coverage. Come hang out and I'll be answering any questions you guys have in between matches. I hope to see you guys soon.